On today's Hashi, I'm discussing revised predictions from Goldman Sachs, cash out refinances, and New York City's City of Yes proposal. Today is Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. I am Byron Lazine, and the Hot Sheet starts now. For those of you joining live, thank you. And let me know in the comments which market you're tuning in live from. Get the most out of all of our content at BAM by joining BAMX, like tomorrow's YouTube Accountability Mastermind. It's going to be tomorrow, October 4th, for BAMX members. You can become a BAMX member by using code HOT to get 10% off of BAMX. So let's jump into the projections that have been changing rapidly. Everyone who made these 30-year fixed projections has been eating some crow. They've been changing them every single week, it seems. We talked about Mortgage Banker Association recently, changing their mortgage 30-year fixed projection for quarter 4 of this year and into next year. They've been changing it every single month. They release theirs every 30 days. We talked about this last week. And every 30 days, they keep ticking it up. Of course, MBA, Mortgage Banker Association, was one of the most bullish on 30-year fixed. It was one of the things halfway through the year where it was like, hey, I don't know if MBA believes that the 30-year fix could be as low as 6%, even the high fives at the end of the year. That could be some hope for buyers going into the winter. That could be some I don't know, wait and see strategy as you go into a seasonal winter where home prices tend to tick down anyway. But Mortgage Banker Association, based off of their last couple of moves here, the last month, last couple monthly reports, has been saying we were wrong. We didn't get it right. And they keep ticking it up. And now Goldman Sachs is leading the charge. They too have revised their 30-year fixed mortgage rate projection. Okay. Lance Lambert shared this on Twitter X. Back in August, Goldman Sachs predicted a 30-year fixed mortgage rate of 5.9% in 2004, while the 10-year Treasury yield would average 3.8. I don't know if you saw the 10-year today. We'll take a look at it before we get off of the show, but wow, on the 10-year this morning. Today, they revised their 2024 call to a 6.8% mortgage rate and a 4.4 on the 10-year. Okay. So this is for 2024, 6.8. So just below 7% is now where Goldman Sachs is projecting that they'll come in. Let's take a look at the chart here, which will be available for everybody in BAMX as we put our daily downloads every single day into BAMX. A couple other things to note here for Goldman Sachs on housing starts, relatively flat here for quarter 4 at 1484. And that's 1470 in quarter 3. So really no change there. 2022, of course, we had 1.5 million on the housing starts, and 2023, the full projection would be just under 1.5 on housing starts. 2024, though, Goldman Sachs has us back to 1.54 on housing starts, just at a million for single family compared to 917,000 is where they're projecting the closeout for this year. Multifamily is projected to be pretty flat, although I've been seeing a lot of reports lately that multifamily starts have slowed down significantly as developers see all of the inventory that's coming online later in the year. The 10-year, which sat at 3.6 through 2022, projection to close out the year for an average for the year at 4.3. So Goldman Sachs now projecting a year run for 2024 on the 10-year of 4.4 compared to 4.3 for this year. So they're saying that 2024, if the 10-year and the 30-year have the same relationship or a similar relationship that they have this year, remember the 10-year, the 30-year is tied pretty closely to the 10-year, historically speaking. So by saying that the 10-year is going to be higher throughout the course of the year on in 2024, you could take that as saying the 30-year might have higher rates for the year on average than 2023 when we're looking ahead at 2024. Of course, they're still keeping a little bit of a bull case for 2024, saying it'll be 6.8 on the 30-year fixed this year at 7.1. After we close out this fourth quarter, we had 6.4 in 2022 to end the year there. Okay. Mortgage originations, are we going to be up or down in 2024? From 1 to 4 families, Goldman Sachs is saying we'll be down 2024, just under 1.4 million, where 2023 is 1.9. Purchase originations 1.4 million for 2023, almost 1.5, not even 1.1 on the projection for 2024. Refinance, I've got some refinance updates. Interestingly enough, you don't hear refinances. Got some conversation there later on the hot sheet. 421,000 this year, down to 262,000 in 2024. So essentially, Goldman Sachs is saying you're going to have a lot less purchase originations, refinance originations, 1 to 4 family mortgages, a lot less mortgages in 2024 than you did in 2023. What did we experience in 2023? Real estate crash, not the prices. Prices are firm. Prices are above most peaks. What crashed was transactions. Goldman Sachs expects more of that to come. There's only so much cash that'll make up that gap in mortgage originations and total transactions. So 4 million is basically the bottom, which is where we're sitting right now on annualized transactions. It's basically the bottom since they started tracking that number, seasonally adjusted basis. We never really have dropped under 4 million. We're getting dangerously close to that. If you take Goldman Sachs projections as gospel, which I wouldn't because they've been wrong many a times, but if you were to take that as gospel, you would say, well, gee, we're probably going to go under 4 million next year. Okay. I think that there's with this environment, the good news is the buyers who can afford right now are going to be in a position of power, a position to be able to go out there this winter and potentially get the best deal that they've seen in the last couple of years, because serious sellers will be on the market in the winter and there won't be as much competition for them. These are some of the things that we've been sharing here on the hot sheet for real estate agents are the things you want to share with the buyers who are concerned. Am I missing the mark? Am I buying at the right time? Should I be buying? Should I be just waiting and waiting and waiting and continuing to wonder when I'll ever buy? No, if you can afford, which I get it, we're in the most unaffordable housing market of all time. August had the record until September beat it. Right now, if the rates hold where they are today throughout October would then have the record. Yes, that's right. You heard me correctly. If October closes out where the rates are today, it's only October 3rd. You'd have 3 consecutive record months of the least affordable housing market of all time. But there's still people who are buying and selling homes. This remains true. This remains true in every single market. And for those that can afford to do so, they are in a position of power like they've never been in the last couple of years. Something else we haven't heard of at all in the last at least year and a half would be mortgage refinances. But Black Knight Mortgage Monitor came out with some information on some cash out refinances that got me thinking about yesterday's discussion where we see credit continue to go up. Remember that Bloomberg article that I was referencing yesterday at the end of the hot sheet, where you're seeing delinquencies on credit card and late payments on credit card and auto loans. And even, yes, now mortgage is still all-time low, but everything is starting to trend up. Not as bad as the mortgage and auto. If you didn't listen to yesterday's hot sheet, go back and consider giving it a listen. By the way, if you're somebody who doesn't always catch the show live, Spotify, Apple on the hot sheets available. I think we have it up usually within an hour or so. Yeah, within an hour or so of the live show. So if you're somebody who typically listens to pods there, hot sheet will always be available for the re-listen every single day, the replay, I should say, on Spotify and Apple. But you're starting to see a consumer that's running out of savings. That was another piece of information we shared from the 6 reasons why Bloomberg is saying we'll go into a recession in 2024. One of them was these delinquencies starting to tick up. Okay. Mortgage, or not, I'm sorry, not mortgage, auto and credit card were really relatively like at the peaks. Okay, let me see if I can go back and I know where that is. I'll find this for you for those that miss it. I'll just share it really quick because I thought some of these charts were fascinating. They were definitely interesting enough to take a look at so that we don't have our head in the sand of what might be coming. I know a lot of people just, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it because gumdrops and lollipops. I just want everything to go back to 2021. 2021 is not coming back. 3% mortgages aren't coming back. That type of market is once out of 100-year market. So you had it. Unless you're going to live another 100 years, you might not see something like that again. Okay, so here's one of those charts that I'm referencing. And then we'll get back into the refinance information from Black Knight. Extra savings are running out for most U.S. households. Look at this. Whether you're in the top 20%, middle 40%, or the bottom 40% of households, you're on a nosedive right now for savings. Okay, so savings are running out. With those savings running out, delinquency rates, which are low, are beginning to climb. The two that aren't that low, because they remind me of pre-great financial crisis, would be auto loan and credit card. Look at the credit card one. It's actually above where it was in 2007. That's really interesting to me that people are continuing to spend like they have a government check coming in next week, and they don't. Okay, so credit card and auto loan kind of skyrocketing up, mortgage ticking up off of all-time low, very low number still, not a concern there yet, but is showing signs of probably finding the bottom. I think it was last week or the week before on a prior hot sheet, we talked about these mortgage delinquencies have probably hit bottom, and naturally are going to bounce up. Student loans still not showing a sign of going up. Obviously, there's been a lot of wiggle room for student loans. We also showed this one, which is interesting. People are refinancing now a little bit more than they have been, and maybe they're getting ahead of this. Banks are tightening up. Banks are getting more strict. When they get this strict, it usually means recession. So that was the case that Bloomberg made yesterday. That they had some reasons why we're heading into a recession. Now back to Black Knight and their mortgage monitor. And what they're seeing right now is some interesting data. Okay, they talk about the home prices, of course. We know home prices have been on a tear the last couple months. It's lagging data. And it's reflective of a spring market that had limited inventory and still strong enough demand to push those prices up, albeit with the lower transactions. Okay, so we know what prices look like. We've been covering that for quite a bit. Now let's take a look at where they're looking at some of the mortgages, because I thought this stuff was pretty interesting. Mortgage origination activity remains overwhelmingly centered around purchase loans. That makes sense. Why would you refinance when the vast majority of homeowners or mortgage owners rather are below 5%? It was 90% the beginning of this year. It is now down to 83% with some of these new mortgages written and some of these refinances even that have taken place. Okay. This is expected to dominate the market through 2024. That Goldman Sachs projection would back that up. It's the primary focus of lenders is new originations. Now, Goldman Sachs numbers show us that originations are going to go down, but remain the primary focus, certainly for lenders. Okay. Moving on, 9 out of 10 borrowers who refinanced in August. So this is just out of people who decided to take a refinance in August. They actually raised their interest rate. Of course, they did, to tap into equity. The average increase was 2.34 percentage points. In the money analytics missed this market almost entirely. Okay. So 2.34 percentage points is the average, going from, say, 4 to, I don't know, 6.5. Because in August, you maybe were able to get a refinance around 6.5. Couldn't do that today. Cash outs are the primary reason that borrowers with lower balances, 165,000 on average, are looking to withdraw. And here's the reason why. They're withdrawing these large amounts of equity, lower rates back in August than the current HELOC they had available. Okay, so that's why those cash outs are happening. It's lower balances where they're happening. So, 165,000 is the average. They're grabbing cash, and the rate is actually lower than a HELOC. Average cash out credit scores are down more than 40 points in recent years, as higher credit borrowers who can qualify are likely opting for HELOCs to tap equity, leaving lower credit score residual among cash outs. So based off of what I just showed you there on the Bloomberg, where you're starting to see delinquencies tick up, and you're starting to see lower credit score mortgage holders among some of these cash outs, are they two things to keep our eye on? I would suggest that they are. Okay, it's not great news. I don't think it's end of the world. I don't think we're concerned at this point, but it's certainly something to consider, that you are starting to see a consumer run out of savings, run out of money, but yet continuing to spend like it's still there. Something to keep our eye on. These are early reports, obviously, and this is from the report yesterday on the Mortgage Monitor at Black Knight. New York City continues to make some headlines about what they are going to do for affordability in housing. I'm a big believer we need more affordable housing everywhere in North America. New York City certainly would be near the top of the list with how unaffordable that city is. So can New York City ease housing costs with what they're calling the City of Yes proposal? Mayor Eric Adams believes that they can. I love the branding from Mayor Eric Adams. Okay, whether you're with him or not on some of his political views, don't really care. This isn't a political show, but I love the branding, City of Yes. I think everybody can get engaged with that. It sounds good. It's like, who doesn't want to be involved in yes? It's like business 101. You always say yes, City of Yes. Yes, we'll make it happen. Yes, come here. It's a great recruiting pitch. Mayors and governors and government officials should be thinking of themselves as the Deion Sanders, the Coach Prime, the Nick Saban of their area. How can I recruit more people into my location? Now, New York has been beat up the last couple of years. They've lost migration primarily to Florida. Florida now is number 2 in the country for states with the most real estate wealth. So their real estate is worth the second most in the country behind California. They took the spot from New York. They flipped 2 and 3 with New York because of that migration. So Mayor Eric Adams now trying to turn the tide, try to get the momentum back into New York City specifically, which would be his area of concern, trying to get the momentum back into the city. So the City of Yes proposal, what is it and how does it work? Okay, so City of Yes proposal that Eric Adams, the New York City mayor, introduced is aimed at building thousands of new homes through zoning reforms and incentives. The goal is to permit 100,000 new homes over 15 years by lifting zoning restrictions, eliminating parking mandates. Parking, obviously, a huge issue. Legalizing dorm style shared housing. Now, okay, that I don't know. I don't know about that one. It just doesn't sound that you might want to reframe that. Legalized dorm style shared housing doesn't sound that enticing to me if I'm going to be an owner, just quite frankly. Allowing the addition of accessory dwelling units. Okay, so this is the proposal. Obviously, there's an affordability crisis there amongst many of our markets. You could be living in a suburb right now and you're saying, geez, we've got an affordability crisis here at home. Let me know in the live chat if you're feeling that. It's not just the cities. You know, if you want to buy a home somewhere where you grew up, you might feel like you're getting priced out. Haley, our producer here, she said, who's a recent graduate from UConn, she said, will I ever be able to buy a house? I've been listening to this hot sheet every single day that we produce, and it doesn't sound like it might ever be able to buy a house. I said, yes, within the next 5 years, you'll be able to do it. Save the money, put yourself in position to be able to do it. And these are the types of things for young people that we need to educate them on. If they've got the money, if they are able to be patient for the right opportunity. Now, would I say to Haley, October's your time? Probably not. She probably doesn't have the savings built up just yet for October, the most unaffordable housing market month ever, to be the moment where she pounces, right? But there will become a moment markets do shift. Okay, what else is going on in New York City? There's mixed success on zoning changes. Okay. Um, Now, I've been an advocate of one way to do this. I'll get into that in just a second. But zoning changes can have mixed success. It can also have a lot of pushback from residents, of course, as well. Research on upzoning in other cities suggests that mixed success in terms of housing production and socioeconomic integration. Some experts argue that direct investment by the public sector in affordable housing may be more effective way to address the housing crisis. It's what I believe. Okay. Direct investment by the public sector is a more useful way. So, how do we make it more lucrative for more competition at a lower price point from these public developers? And that's what I think the City of Yes campaign should be doing. Zoning can help a little bit, but I'm not hearing any tax benefits. Maybe it's because New York City is losing some of their tax base, and they need to they have very high taxes, some of the highest in the country. Maybe they're afraid to give some of that up. Maybe they should give some of that up to some of these developers to be with the caveat of coming in and building some affordable housing. State level regulations can impact the feasibility of some aspects of Mayor Adams' proposal, such as making basement apartments safe and legal. A proposed state law could override these regulations to enable the city to set its own standards. Okay. Now, you don't hear anything about conversion here in the proposal just yet. The proposal is kind of outlined on Bloomberg today, so you can check it out there if you'd like. They certainly would have to, think more about upgrading transit, making sure that people can move about the city freely. Um, but again, nothing on the office conversion. We know that there haven't been too many of those happening because of the cost that it takes to go out and do that. And then you're going to start turning those into luxury. And then I'm not hearing a lot of tax incentives, but love the brand name City of Yes proposal. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Let me know what you think about this. I don't like it personally. It's the 30-year fix where it ended off yesterday at 7.61. So after Friday's 7.44, we saw another sharp spike back up to the 7.61 territory, the second highest mark we've seen since the year for the daily survey since the year 2000. Okay, 7.65 set the record last Wednesday. So back up to 7.61. I'd imagine that today we could set a new record on the 30-year fixed from in the last 25 years or so, 23 anyways, just based off of where The 10-year is. It broke 4.7 now. So we had a 4.5 break a couple of weeks ago within the last couple of weeks for the first time, excuse me, since 2007 on the 10-year. Then we broke 4.6 and now we've broken 4.7. What happens every time we break 4.5 on the 10-year since 1790, so basically as old as our country? We tend to stay above 4.5 for longer. 4.5 is important because it's the average since 1790. But when we get up above it, we stay there. That pushes up the 30-year. So these rates higher for longer are the reality. The strategy going into 2024 is not to think that, oh, everything's over because it's higher for longer. It's to understand that that is the reality. That's the norm. Don't put your head in the sand. Recognize it, embrace it. Know that if you go wide, you talk to more people, there's going to be more opportunity in housing, whether that's from an investment or an advising standpoint. But you can't ignore it. It is the facts. It's the realities. You can't wish for 4%, 5% to come back. Not happening. Higher for longer is with this being the reality, this 4.7, and everybody changing their projections now as we get closer to the end of the year to recognize, yeah, we're talking about 7 plus, maybe 8% in the short term on the 30-year fixed. This is an opportunity to just talk to more people, educate more people, go wider in your market, and understand that that's what it's going to take going into 2024 to be prepared for it and get the most out of our content. You can join us at BAMX. Use code HOT to get 10% off of BAMX. Tomorrow, Wednesday, October 4th, we actually have our first YouTube mastermind accountability group starting up. That's going to be a consistent schedule for all of our BAMX members. You also get Lisa Chinati's course on CRM and follow-up, which was just released this month, and along with all of our other courses, because we just keep uploading more and more content every single month. You get all the downloads from this show as well. So use code HOT to get 10% off of BAMX. Love to see you in our private Facebook group there. And I'd love to see you tomorrow here back on the hot sheet, 9:30 on the East, 6:30 on the West. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the notifications so you don't miss any morning here on the hot sheet. Until then, have a great Tuesday. And of course, toodaloo.